I think you go where you're comfortable. In terms of return on investment, it's not really, me as a consumer looking for it. How do I determine if there's a return on investment? If you save time, is that a return on investment? Or are you finding the most qualified individual because of recommendations and testimonials of what they have? It's more powerful. I mean, it's word of mouth. Yeah.
I said all these people are following me on Twitter. Now, how do they know about me? I don't know.
Are you on Twitter?
Apparently, I am. It's scary that all these people are following me. I sometimes don't prove they are.
That's the great part about it.
Actually, I bought some Petco knives with one of them.
There you go. I'm sure they're back in the business of selling more.
But that was like the only one who ever listened to me. So where do these people get our name?
Well, you're on there. You're public. You can control all of these things. You can say, I want to be private. I want to be public. You can control that. There you go. But with Twitter, you need to figure out, how does it affect you? Does it affect you? If it becomes overwhelming, then you're going to get in this sinkhole and never want to get out of it. And be very, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but negative, because you've had bad experiences.
Well, it's weird. If you click on them, they're following 832 people, and they have 2 followers. And you start to wonder.
What are they on there for? So, I agree. You had a question? Mm-hmm. Sure. With Twitter, a lot of times when we're trying to develop relationships or leads, we're trying to push them back to a Facebook page. Because on the Facebook page is where you can get the how-to information. That's where people are interested in actually kind of learning more and engaging. But to develop the relationship piece on Twitter, one of the ways that I found it effective is more go to search.twitter.com. And the problem with Twitter is that it doesn't focus on geographics. So, you're targeting Northeast Ohio. It's a little bit more difficult to focus in on a geographic on Twitter than it is on something like Facebook. Facebook, you can focus very, very specifically, like Google AdWords on Google. Twitter is a little bit different in that sense, though. And so with that, if you go to search.twitter.com, what I would type in is potentially something to do with appliance services or certain keyword phrases or terms that you might think people are talking about when it applies to the appliance services sector. If it's about an experience with specific types of equipment, refrigerators, or brands, GE, about servicing them. If we go to search.twitter.com and just type in a quick query, and this is something that's pretty easy, and we type in, I don't want to get more specific than appliances, but what would be a term? Appliance. Okay, so repair dishwasher. So what it's going to do is search Twitter, and anybody talking about that specific term is going to show up. So how do we use this information now to connect with that person, or what they would call retweet their information? So you're taking that individual person and retweeting it under your name so that all of the people following you or looking at you can see that. So they get an idea that you are engaged in this area, and after a while they start getting some interest built up. Then we try to, every couple of tweets we send out, push them back to the Facebook page. That's where we can really engage them. Make sense? Yeah. Right.
So, how do you win? Who, what, where, when, how?
Who, what, when, where, how? Well, the first thing I can try to sell or talk about is corporate college. They do an e-marketing techniques conference that's coming up in May. They've got about 15 companies participating It's a half-a-day workshop. I don't know what the costs are or more information about that.
You'll get a discount through us.
Okay, the Chamber's got a relationship with Corporate College, so you get a discount. I have attended the last 4 years, and they are very focused on specific topics. If you're interested just in search, just on Twitter or Facebook, just on email marketing, it's specific sections from local area experts, from down to Akron Canton Airport, that's all over social media, to actual businesses here that sell those services talking about it. I think that's a great way to get started.
Thank you.
You got it. It's in May.
Thank you.
In May. So hopefully that helps.
If you're interested, contact me. I have
Yeah. It's a great conference. I mean, it really is. You walk away with tangible information. Yes?
Go back to your slide of Twitter and-
Talk about it?
Yeah.
When people try to get involved with Twitter for the first time, I try to lay out kind of essentially 5 different, I don't know if I want to call them rules, but just kind of foundations. The first is a 90-10 rule. And it has to do with what type of information you're putting out there. 90% has nothing to do with selling. It's all whether how-to based or educational based or best practices and case studies. Or if you're trying to reach an audience, 90% should not sell your company. Should not sell what you're trying to do. It's about developing that kind of relationship. And you know, I don't want to overstate that importance, because I think there is a point where we're on here to do business at the end of the day. You just have to do it tactfully in terms of best practices of getting to know your audience the best. And then 10% of the time, you actually want to try to sell. Good example, Heinz. With Twitter, a lot of big brands were kind of getting their, what you would call names taken by not their actual company, and people would start posting content. Well, a syndication advertising age did kind of wanted to do a study. So they found that Heinz didn't have a Twitter presence. So they've got HJ_Heinz and started posting content for about 2 weeks. Mostly positive information, recipes, how-to, other people that have had good experiences with Heinz or use ketchup in their cooking, chefs. And then they also targeted people in Pittsburgh because that's where Heinz is. Well, 2.5 weeks after, Twitter finally said, hey, you're not the real Heinz, and gone. Now, what's the point? The point is there's not a lot of rules yet in Twitter. There's a lot of give and take. Twitter is still in its infancy. I don't know if Twitter will be around for a long time. The concept will be of microblogging 140 characters of information. But Twitter itself, there's still a lot of unknown territory. When I'm a first timer in Twitter, when I'm trying to figure out how to use Twitter, because I've tested a bunch of different things just to figure out what works for me and what doesn't, I started search.twitter.com. I type in specific phrases or terms that interest me, whether it's my business, whether it's me personally, to see everything of what people are talking about. If I'm really interested in, you know, for example, Cleveland Cavs, I type in search. Anybody that's talking about the Cavaliers on Twitter brings up a huge feed. So I can go through them. This guy's got a really good point. I want to follow him to hear more of his thoughts about it. I want to follow Shaquille O'Neal to get his perspective on things. But it's looking at everybody on Twitter, looking specifically at what they're talking about so that I can engage with them directly. So it's a really cool way to get started in learning how to get involved. My father, really big in politics. Loves CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Everybody in politics is on Twitter now. Everybody's talking about it. So he's like, what's this Twitter thing? You know, what do I do? I don't, you know. I said, Dad, all you got to do, create an account. All you need is a name and an email address to get started. And then go and find on search.twitter.com the people you want to follow. Whether it's Bill O'Reilly or some of these other local announcers, follow them. And you'll see how they're using it. You can see the type of content they're putting out there so that you can start getting comfortable in the environment. And that's what it's about, getting comfortable, getting to know how people are using it.